Kamala lost because of Kamala. You know, I really thought that someone on the left would write this. I've been saying this, the true story of how Kamala Harris lost the presidential race.
I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about all people. I care about the people living here.
Trump plans tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China that could cripple trade. This is a New York Times story. All right, let's read this.
So they use the word cripple.
Yeah, of course. That's the word they put in there. President-elect Donald Trump announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on all goods from Mexico and Canada and an additional 10% tariff on Chinese imports, claiming the measures aim to curb illegal immigration and drug trafficking, particularly fentanyl. Trump declares the tariffs would remain until...
Today, our daughters know fewer rights than their grandmothers. This is a healthcare crisis, and we all know who was to blame.
That California may be the largest economy in the United States of America, maybe a $3.8 trillion a year economy, but that's cold comfort for certain regions in this state that don't feel that they're fully participating. In January, we'll be releasing the most comprehensive, nuanced sectoral strategy and workforce strategy in this state's history. He vandalized our progress. He vandalized our programs. He broke the law. Courts adjudicated that. It's not an assertion. And so we are preparing for that.
Going to be slapping. These are additional tariffs that we expected anyway on China. And of course, Mexico and Canada, he's got the USMCA deal in place, but he's got the right to renegotiate that. And it looks like he's going to do just that, Chris. As he should. It's already working, Marie. We already heard that the Chinese car company saying we don't want to build another factory in Mexico because we're concerned how Trump will perceive it. It's showing us that he's using it as a negotiating tactic. It's working extraordinarily well. And frankly, if the U.S. cars are having 100% import in China, it's still disproportionate. This is going to tighten up the border. This is going to stop that flow of illegal drugs, these things that he ran upon. And he has the power to do it, and I think he's willing to use this stick, and I think we'll land at a lower percentage rate, but I think some tariffs are completely appropriate. Jonathan, it's amazing to me how everybody's getting in line even before Trump gets in.
Comcast has been rumored to be selling MSNBC to the highest bidder. To that, Donald J. Trump tweeted at Elon Musk and told him that he had the funniest idea ever, guys. So watch out, guys. The Tesla CEO could be buying MSNBC and turning it into MXNBC. You know what I mean? Now, seriously though, Elon Musk buying MSNBC would be the most epic move ever. I would love to say goodbye to the likes of Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid. Wouldn't the world be such a better place without their anti-Trump commentary? What do you guys think? But here's a little bit of insight from journalist and commentator Brad Palumbo. Watch.
I think it would be absolutely brilliant if Elon went and just bought MSNBC, if not only for the mass resignations and meltdowns on camera it would surely bring about. Their tears would be delicious after years of watching them and seeing them insult everyone who disagrees with them and kind of mislead the public. To see them kind of get their comeuppance and have to report to Elon Musk or pack their bags, that would be iconic, but really he couldn't do much of a worse job of running the TV side of that network because they're bleeding viewers and listeners. People have really feel that they've eroded their credibility and their trust. They're so hyper-partisan and toxic at times. And I will just say, I am available if Elon is looking for a new primetime host. I can be negotiated with. So Elon, maybe go through with it and then give me a call.
You heard the man, guys. MSNBC under Elon Musk, it would be iconic. Now, don't forget the whole Musk buying Twitter started with just a joke, pretty much like this one. And then he messed around and bought freaking Twitter. Fortune magazine US news chief tweeted to him that he should buy the platform, and Musk simply replied, well, how much is it? Like he was just buying something at the store. Classic, right? In other news, it's the tale of two parties again as we see a very clear contrast between people like Matt Gaetz, who just want to make America great again, and Gavin Newsom, who just has an agenda for 2028. So here's former Congressman Matt Gaetz humbly explaining what's next for him and just being open to pretty much anything that's going to support the incoming Trump administration. Watch.
So Matt, I now have to ask about just what your plans are, and it's okay if you have to, punt on it because you might not know. It's important to know you resigned from this Congress, not the next Congress. Our audience is 100% behind Matt Gaetz, by the way. They are very, very upset that you were not able to get all the way to Attorney General. I have to ask, what is next for Matt Gaetz?
I'm still going to be in the fight, but it's going to be from a new perch. I do not intend to join the 119th Congress. There are a number of fantastic Floridians who've stepped up to run for my seat, people who have inspired with their heroism, with their public service. And I'm actually excited to see Northwest Florida go to new heights and have great representation. Charlie, I've been in an elected office for 14 years. I first got elected to the state house when I was 26 years old, and I'm 42 now. And I've got some other goals in life that I'm eager to pursue with my wife and my family. And so I'm going to be fighting for President Trump. I'm going to be doing whatever he asks of me, as I always have. But I think that 8 years is probably enough time in the United States Congress. In Florida, our voters got to vote on term limits for state government, and the campaign was 8 is enough. And so you can only do 8 years in the Florida House of Representatives. And so it seems like a pretty poetic time to allow that great new blood to come in, to allow my district to have high quality representation. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not taking off for a tropical excursion for the rest of my life. I am here to help save this country. And one thing the great patriots at Turning Point know, we need people at every level. We need brilliant lawyers on the outside. We need tough congressmen and congresswomen on the inside. We need a leadership structure under President Trump that's going to allow for durability of our movement and the ability to continue this great realignment of our politics. And so I'll play a part in that. I plan to be a big voice, but maybe not as an elected member of the government.
What did I say, guys? Humble and willing to serve. Now, let's go ahead and compare that to California Governor Gavin Newsom, obviously sounding like he's preparing for a 2028 presidential run.
I'm not looking. It's not about voters. It's not about voters. I care about people. I don't care who you voted for. I care about people. I care about Trump supporters. I care about RFK Jr. supporters. I care about Tucker Carlson supporters. I care about Charlie Kirk supporters. I care about Ben Shapiro supporters. I care about all people. I care about the people living here in the Sierra, folks down in San Diego where I just was, or in my backyard in Fair Oaks, California. I care about people, and I care about protecting them, their public safety, and their public health. And I care about being honest with them as well, and level setting with them. This is not an academic exercise. We had the experience with Donald Trump. Don't fall sort of prey to somehow this is some new day. Listen to what these guys are saying and telling you. Look at what they're prepared to do day one, January 20th, 21st. Get prepared, and no impact will be greater than the impact in this region. And there may be a lot more Trump supporters here, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to still have their backs because they need us to have their back, not turn their back on them.
In office, you're seeing a think twice about having a Chinese factory in Mexico narrative going on there in Mexico. You've got the Russians saying, I'm ready for a reset with America. You've got a handful of companies in America saying, I'm going to take my supply chains out of China and build everything in America.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's all these people, particularly on the left, that look at President Trump and say, oh, wow, he's lost his mind. What is he doing? He's doing something when the left has done nothing for the last 4 years to address what he's trying to do. So I commend the president in terms of what he's doing. But also keep in mind that these tariffs, they're level playing field tariffs, right? I mean, these countries are also imposing tariffs on our country as well. So, it doesn't just flow one way. The other thing is, China has been long overdue.
These issues are resolved, stating it is time for them to pay a very, very big price. Their tariffs could dramatically affect the economies of Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., with Canada's Deputy PM, Chrystia Freeland, emphasizing the mutually beneficial relationship between the nations. China's embassy in Washington warned no one will win a trade war, with Vice Commerce Minister Wang Shuwen stated the U.S. measures would ultimately raise consumer prices.
In the local area, so please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Julia.
Is mic on? Great.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Julia. I would just like to say, Senator Vance and Mr. Mr. Kirk, thank you for being here today. Senator Vance, my question for you today is specifically, how will you improve the economy in a way that it benefits 20-year-olds, young 20-year-olds?
Julie, thanks so much for the question. And, I want to start out by saying I grew up in a working class family. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I thought that they would be so angry with her for losing to Trump that they would be clamoring to write the in-depth piece on how she blew it, like journalists. Silly me. I thought we'd get to read all the juicy details about how this well-known bully who lost 92% of her staff as vice president because no one could stand working for her was impossible to manage, wouldn't take advice, couldn't execute prepared strategies, was too paralyzed with fear to make decisions, except for the big one that she did make, which was to pick Tim Walz as her running mate, which turned out to be an absolute disaster. But so far, nothing. There's really been only a couple of lame pieces, and none have really gone in depth behind the scenes. Maybe it'll still happen. But truly, what's happened so far is it's been mostly she lost because of racism and sexism, and maybe because of Joe Biden. We are being spoon-fed a bunch of nonsense. Oh, what a change. About how Kamala Harris hit all of her marks. I mean, you can't be mad at her. She hit all of her marks.
Who would have thought that this would happen, right, guys? It turns out that they can't just print money to save their jobs. These are the facts of life that they have to accept. But it's a little bit shocking to hear that all of those celebrities didn't help Kamala Harris win the White House. Now, if these people truly believed in the Democratic Party, they should all give the money back, right? I mean, that would only be fair. Beyonce got $10 million? Oprah got around $2.5 million. And I don't even know how much they had to pay Taylor Swift for her endorsement. But if these high-profile Democrats believed in what they're fighting for, giving back what they were paid, it would be nothing. But I'm guessing that this isn't going to work out for these DNC employees. And where's the vice president in all this? The one person who all of these staffers supported for more than 100 days on the trail? Yeah. Well, she took a well-deserved vacation. So while her staffers were worried about not getting paid and the DNC in debt up to the millions, Kamala Harris and her husband Dougie spent some time away in a $7.1 million estate in Hawaii. And just to clarify, guys, this was the presidential candidate who said that she cared about the people, that she was going to make things easier for all of us. The same candidate that just kept talking about her growing up in the middle class. All of these factors showed the entire country that she wasn't authentic. And this may have been the reason why she kept making the rules for her possible interview with Joe Rogan. But her campaign advisor, Stephanie Cutter, she had a completely different explanation as to why it didn't happen.
We wanted to do it. I hate to repeat this over and over, but it was a very short race with a limited number of days. And for a candidate to leave the battleground to go to Houston, which is a day off the playing field in the battleground, getting that timing right is really important. We had discussions with Joe Rogan's team. They were great. They wanted us to come on. We wanted to come on. We tried to get a date to make it work, and ultimately we just weren't able to find a date. We did go to Houston, and she gave a great speech at an amazing event.
The Beyonce event.
I'm going to call it Reproductive Freedom. And we were hoping to be able to fit it in around that, and ultimately weren't able to do it. As it turns out, that was the day that Trump was taping his Joe Rogan, which they had never confirmed to us. We kind of figured that out in the lead up to it. She was ready, willing to go on Joe Rogan. Would it have changed anything? It would have broken through, not because of the conversation with Joe Rogan, but because the fact that she was doing it. And that was really the benefit of it. Will she do it sometime in the future? Maybe. Who knows? But it didn't ultimately impact the outcome one way or the other.
Now, you gotta love how smug these people can be, right? Trump's Rogan podcast generated more than 50 million views. To say that her coming on wouldn't have changed the thing is downplaying that fact. And to argue that timing was an issue is kind of offensive. Trump was doing multiple rallies and interviews per day. He was going nonstop this entire race. But according to these people, it wasn't their fault that it didn't work with Joe Rogan, which kind of sums up the far left demographic for the Democratic Party. If something goes wrong, it's not our fault. That's the idea. And I think that the leaders of the Harris-Walz campaign embodied this well into this podcast.
I would say, I mean, look, I am not media hater by any measure. And I think that, we women don't get far in life talking about double standards, so that's not the point. But I do think a narrative, 107 days, 2 weeks fucked up because of a hurricane, 2 weeks talking about how she didn't do interviews, which, she was doing plenty, but we were doing in our own way. We had to, be the nominee, had to find a running mate and do a rollout. I mean, there was all these things that you kind of want to factor in, but real people heard in some way that we were not going to have interviews, which was both not true and also so counter to any kind of standard that was put on Trump that I think that was a problem. And then on top of that, we would do an interview, and to Stephanie's point, the questions were small and processy and about
dumb.
They were not informing a voter who was trying to listen to learn more or to understand.
It's always everyone else that's the problem, not Kamala Harris gaslighting the American people or Tim Walz running and kicking on stage. It wasn't the lack of policy or how they would solve the issues that we have. It's us that's the problem. But she's still the VP though, right? She still has some time in place for the solutions that she promised on the trail, but she's not going to do that, and it might be better that she doesn't. Although what's being done might not be better. It's now come to our attention that the current administration may be fast-tracking World War III. Now, I covered this in a previous video, guys, where President Joe Biden gave Ukraine the permission to use long-range missiles against Russia. Now, like my uncle told me, guys, how can you tell if Newsom is lying? Well, his mouth is moving. You see, this is why I like what former NBC host Brian Williams said on Seth Meyers, that the Democratic Party needs to be stripped down and rebuilt from the ground up. Plus, they really need to stop talking down to the working class. Watch.
It is tough love time for the Democratic Party. I think it needs to be stripped down and rebuilt. I think that means a change in leadership. I want to know who thought it was a good idea that Joe Biden stand for another 4 years at 80 years of age and 37% popularity. So then that saddled the party with a British-like short campaign season for them. I think it's insulting when members of the working class, which the Democratic Party has lost entirely in our lifetimes, to insist the economy is doing great. A 12-pack of Bounty is $40. Rich folks don't feel that. Poor folks already switched to Sparkle during the during the lockdown. And I think telling them that the NASDAQ is gangbusters is further insulting. It's insulting. I think the biggest unforced error of the Biden administration by far was the border. To tell people it's not a problem is insulting. For the working class to see incoming migrants getting welcome bags, debit cards, and motel rooms is probably insulting as well. So there's a lot of work to do. You know, it was when they handed out camo hats that said Harris Walz, and the Democrats they were kind of charmed by that. Their party has gone quinoa, and the rest of America's eating at Cracker Barrel. And so it was kind of an ironic use of something millions of Americans put on their heads to start their day every day.
Now, seriously, guys, I would love to see the day when these biased shows and journalists finally get taken down a peg. You know what I'm saying? First on the list would definitely have to be MSNBC. I mean, like, how epic would it be if Elon Musk actually went through with it and overhauled the liberal media outlet after buying it, right? Legendary. Now, he even posted a meme about it recently saying, "Lead us not into temptation." You see, guys, MSNBC's parent company Comcast, the parent company of NBC, they've actually been eyeing plans of spinning off nearly all of its cable channels into a company dubbed SpinCo. Other channels in the group include CNBC, Oxygen, E, Sci-Fi, and even the Golf Channel. Now, because of that, one MSNBC source revealed that everyone is in panic mode because everything's up in the air. Liberal darlings such as Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, and even Lawrence O'Donnell call MSNBC home. And with this news, soon-to-be first son, Donald Trump Jr. joked that Elon Musk should purchase MSNBC. Musk's reply? The most entertaining outcome. especially if ironic is most likely. Podcast titan Joe Rogan even chimed in, writing that if Musk buys MSNBC, he would like Rachel Maddow's job. He even said that he'll wear the same outfit and glasses and tell the same lies. Musk's last word in the X conversation: deal. I don't know, guys. It sure does sound like he's joking about buying the liberal news network MSNBC, jokingly and almost borderline serious about it. But I'm gonna keep you guys posted on this. But Elon Musk certainly has the money to do it. He can put his money where his mouth is. A whopping estimated net worth of $348 billion as the richest person in the world, according to Bloomberg. And again, guys, remember when he started joking about buying Twitter? He asked in 2017, well, how much is it? Fast forward to 2022, Elon Musk purchased the platform for $44 billion in a deal that wrapped up in October of that year. And we all know that Elon Musk and Donald Trump have got each other's back throughout this whole thing. In fact, since the historic November 5th presidential election, Elon Musk has practically been living at Mar-a-Lago with Trump and the incoming presidential elites. And remember how he was able to pivot X back after buying it as Twitter? Among his first actions was lifting a ban on former President Donald Trump when the liberal media blamed him for his followers storming the Capitol on January 6, 2021. I mean, ridiculous, right? More evidence that X has taken a turn for the better? Well, liberals are now flocking to their own new online echo chamber, Blue Sky. The X alternative has confirmed that there is a noticeable increase in users fleeing the Musk-owned platform of X. Now, from what I heard, Trump has already targeted MSNBC and other channels. He's calling on legislators to vote wisely on their press freedoms and also threatening to pressure the Federal Communications Commissions, aka the FCC, to cancel broadcast licenses for networks he deems to be in violation of the law. Trump's choice to head the FCC, Brendan Carr, has already spoken out about taking action against networks and, more importantly, smashing the censorship cartel. Specifically, he wants to stop social media companies and the narrative checkers they engage from suppressing conservative viewpoints. As for Elon Musk, he's suggesting cutting federal funding for publicly supported news organizations. MSNBC is probably going to be the first on the list, to be honest. Now, according to Craig Moffett of media analyst MoffettNathanson, there are only two media entities that Donald Trump dislikes more than CNN. One is MSNBC and the other is NBC. Now, Trump has called the liberal network a 24-hour hit job that he said meddled in the election. Last year, Trump filed lawsuits against up to 20 news outlets for allegedly exaggerating the losses he incurred on his Truth Social platform. Trump is also suing CBS for $10 billion, saying that its 60 Minutes interview with Vice President Kamala Harris was deceptively edited, amounting to election interference. So really, guys, this is going to be a teardown of institutions and a rebuilding of the media landscape from the ground up. I mean, that's why we voted for him, right? Drop a quick yes in the comments down below. Light the like button, show your support for the president-elect and his incoming administration, guys. Oh, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for the channel, tap the notification bell. That way you don't miss out on our future episodes. But fully supportive of the incoming Trump administration is former Congressman and former AG nominee Matt Gaetz. He just confirmed on air that he will not be joining the 119th Congress after resigning from the 118th after President-elect Donald Trump selected him to be his attorney general in his upcoming administration. So instead, he told the Charlie Kirk show that he's going to be in the fight from a new perch, especially as he says that there's a number of fantastic Floridians who've stepped up to run for my seat. But still, Matt Gaetz proved himself to be a true MAGA team player and says that he's going to be fighting for President Trump and that he's going to be doing whatever he asks of him, as he always has. And that's exactly what he did when he withdrew himself from attorney general nomination. He said that the whole thing was unfairly becoming a distraction for the work of Trump's transition and that there's no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. With that being said, the former congressman hoped to contribute to Trump's DOJ being in place and ready on day one. And it looks like the trust and support is being reciprocated by President-elect, as Trump said about Gaetz that he greatly appreciates the former congressman's recent efforts, that he's doing very well, but at the same time didn't want to be a distraction for the administration, for which Trump says he has very much respect. Now, on the other side of the coin, someone who Trump doesn't have as much respect for are the likes of California Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, you know what he did when Trump won, right? He called for a special legislative session to supposedly safeguard the Golden State's policies ahead of Trump's return to the White House in January. He said the freedoms that we hold dear in California are under attack and we won't sit idle. What freedoms is he talking about being under attack? Is Gavin Newsom smoking weed over there? I mean, here's what Trump's Truth Social said about it. Newsom is using the term Trump-proof as a way of stopping all the great things that can be done to make California great again. But I just overwhelmingly won the election. People are being forced to leave due to his and others' insane policy decisions. Honestly, Newsom sounds like he's basically declared war against the Trump administration, saying that California has faced the challenge before and they know how to respond. So what do you guys think about this? Doesn't it sound like treason to you? In fact, the California governor has even called upon the legislature to provide additional funding to the California Department of Justice and other state agencies in anticipation of potential litigation. He specifically noted potential threats to abortion access, LGBTQ protections, environmental conservation guidelines, and federal funding for the state. Now, again, remember, we're 76 million strong Americans who voted for Trump and his policies, the clear, unquestionable majority. So why are they fighting this? California Assembly Republican leader James Gallagher even called the special session a shameless political stunt. He said that if Gavin Newsom is so eager to set up a 2028 presidential run, he'd be much better served by fixing the crime, homelessness, and high costs that will doom his campaign. And you know what Trump calls the California governor, right? Newscum. Pretty clever, right? So Gavin Newsom, on the other hand, has pretty much rehashed every Democratic name that they have for Trump, including calling the president-elect a threat to the state's progressive values. Now, honestly, he better go ahead and recheck those values, because he may be surprised that Trump actually gained big time in California. So yeah, it looks like Newsom's days are numbered. And like with MSNBC, good riddance. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Do you feel like Trump is on a roll and actively draining the swamp even before his inauguration on January 20th? Drop a quick yes or no in the comments down below, guys. And while you're at it, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell. That way you do not miss out on any of our updates. In fact, why don't you go ahead and check out our other videos on the channel while you're here. Now, I just uploaded a fresh one talking about how Trump's lawyers outsmarted New York DA Alvin Bragg, and now he's ahead in all of his legal cases. Definitely a masterclass from the president-elect and his people, and definitely a must-watch for this one, guys. Don't miss it. But as always, appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribing. Check out this video coming up here next, or check out our playlist and clips down below. We'll see you guys on the next time.